Good. Thank you very much. Now, we have the pleasure to introduce you to our next 3 keynote speakers. First, it is our honor to welcome on stage the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Korea, His Excellency Cho Tae-yeol. Please welcome him on stage with a big round of applause.
Your Excellency, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, the 8th Secretary General of the United Nations, Dr. Yoon Dong-seop, President of the Yonsei University, Your Excellency, Madame Kang Kyung-hwa, the former Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Korea, Dr. Jim Yong Kim, former President of the World Bank, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to be here today at the Global Engagement and Empowerment Forum on Sustainable Development. It would be remiss of me not to start by acknowledging the visionary leadership of Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, a leadership which was instrumental in giving birth to the SDGs. Today, the SDGs have become synonymous with humanity's collective commitment to a better and more sustainable future. And to this day, Secretary General Ban continues to serve as its tireless champion, making a difference towards its realization. I also wish to thank Yonsei University for its long-standing support for the aspirations embodied in the SDGs. The fact that this is the 6th Global Engagement and Empowerment Forum being hosted by the Yonsei University speaks to its robust contributions to raising awareness of the SDGs. When the SDGs were launched back in 2015, no one harbored any illusions that the goals would be easy to attain. But the far-reaching changes that have taken place since then have vastly compounded the difficulties in realizing them. The tectonic shifts in the geopolitical landscape, punctuated by 2 ongoing armed conflicts, not least among those changes. The rules-based international order, which has been vital to global stability and prosperity, is also at risk of unraveling. From the impact of climate change and pandemics to food insecurity and supply chain disruptions, crises abound. Over 110 million people are displaced, and more than 700 million live in extreme poverty, a dire situation exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. Global gas emissions hit a staggering 37 billion tons in 2023, the highest since 1990, highlighting a pressing need for urgent climate action. And the strategic competition between the United States and China is casting a long shadow on the global economy, trade, energy, and supply chains. As we pass the halfway mark for achieving the SDGs, an assessment of the state of implementation reveals a sobering reality. Only 15% of the goals are currently on track to being met, with many regressing. In Europe, North America, and Central America, only 20 out of 117 measurable SDG targets are on track, a mere 17%. The current trajectory shows that the Asia and the Pacific region is expected to achieve the SDGs as late as 2062. As such, the SDGs are literally on life support. As Secretary General Guterres said, we need a global rescue plan for the SDGs. As the deadline for achieving the SDGs draws near, the international community must step up and make stronger concerted efforts to turn the tide. I'd like to highlight 3 areas that should be central to such efforts. First and foremost, a reformed, inclusive, and networked multilateralism centered on the United Nations. Today, multilateralism is arguably facing one of its lowest moments since the Cold War due to rising nationalism and escalating geopolitical, geoeconomic, and geotechnological rivalries. As a result, there are pervasive doubts about what multilateralism can in fact accomplish. But the complex nature of the challenges we face and the collective solutions that are needed to address them beckon for stronger multilateralism. This year, there will be several key opportunities to demonstrate the resilience of multilateralism and how it can contribute to the SDGs. For the first time in a decade, the UN will host the International Conference on Small Island Developing States, or SEADS, and the UN Conference on Landlocked Developing Countries, or LLDCs. These platforms will address the acute challenges faced by SEADS and LLDCs, which often grapple with isolated geographical locations, impeding access to trade, communication, and markets. The Summit of the Future in September represents a once-in-a-generation opportunity to revitalize trust in multilateralism. The discussions on financing for development, peace, technology and innovation, youth, and global governance must help to lay the foundation for a sustainable future. The international community must rise to the occasion and make sure that this summit and the Pact for the Future, led by Secretary General Guterres, reignite the momentum for accelerating the achievement of the SDGs. Second, an integrated approach to development cooperation focused on the humanitarian peace development nexus. Peace, development, and human rights are intertwined and mutually reinforcing goals that constitute the three main pillars of the United Nations. They are three faces of the same reality, as former Secretary General Kofi Annan eloquently put it. Indeed, there is no peace without development, and no development without peace. Equally true is that neither development nor peace is sustainable without respect for human rights. The interplay between these three pillars and the multifaceted nature of the global challenges we face today call for a holistic and integrated approach. We must de-silo security, development, and humanitarian work. Korea's journey from the ruins of the Korean War in the early 1950s to the robust economy and vibrant democracy of today offers a living testament to the transformative power of an integrated approach to the humanitarian, peace, and development nexus. Another notable example is the Gambia, a nation supported by the UN Peacebuilding Commission, which I had the privilege to chair in 2017. The country was at the critical juncture of political transition right after an authoritarian leader was removed from power the previous year. With the political and financial support from the PBC and the United Nations more broadly, the transfer of power proceeded smoothly and peacefully, and political stability created new opportunities for the pursuit of both development and peace. With the sustaining of peace, the Gambia's economy today is showcasing the remarkable resilience, even in the face of multiple global challenges. Third, narrowing the financial gap for the SDG implementation. The annual SDG funding gap has risen from $2.5 trillion before COVID to $4.2 trillion. This must be reversed. While official development assistance will continue to be an essential instrument for achieving the SDGs, we should step up our efforts to explore all avenues for mobilizing resources to meet the SDGs. To address the needs of all nations, irrespective of their economic status, we must maintain our aspiration for a new Bretton Woods moment, focusing on reforming the international financial architecture. Multilateral development banks must be bigger, bolder, and better as a driving force for the 2030 agenda. Korea, as the co-chair of the International Financial Architecture Working Group at the G20, will contribute to advancing this critical agenda. We must also make the best of the 4th UN International Conference on Financing for Development next year in Spain. This gathering is set to bring together world leaders for a comprehensive review of the Addis Ababa Action Agenda. As such, it will mark a pivotal milestone in our journey to diversify development finance. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take a moment to underline some of the key priorities of the Korean government in accelerating the implementation of SDGs. Tapping into our experience of having achieved industrialization and democratization in a single generation, Korea is uniquely positioned to fulfill the following roles. First, a facilitator that bridges the global North and global South, one that hails from the West, from the East, but like-minded in many ways with the West. Second, a supporter that advances global public goods. Third, an initiator that helps to set new global norms and standards. Korea's vision to become a global pivotal state, contributing to freedom, peace, and prosperity, prosperity around the world, attests to its determination to facilitate, support, and initiative. As President Yoon articulated in his speech at the UN last year, the more than 40% of increase in our ODA this year is the single most visible manifestation of our seriousness as a global pivotal state. Today, I wish to underscore 4 crucial areas that will be integral to Korea's endeavors going forward. First, we will act on our steady commitment to the humanitarian development peace nexus. As I alluded to earlier, the HDB nexus has a very special place in my heart due to my experience as chair of the Peacebuilding Commission and as president of the executive boards of UNDP, UNFPA, and UNOPS while I was serving as the Korean ambassador to the United Nations. So I'm personally committed to making sure Korea walks the talk. Korea will spearhead investments that promote a nexus approach to conflict-affected and fragile countries. We have increased our humanitarian assistance budget by 145% and significantly scaled up our support for fragility programs. KOICA is expected to sign new agreements with 8 international organizations which are in the front lines of the most challenging crisis settings. The Summit for Democracy, to be hosted by Korea next week, and the first ever Korea-Africa Summit in June will provide useful platforms to discuss ways to overcome silos between the humanitarian, development, and peace actors. Also, as a non-permanent member of the Security Council of the United Nations for 2024 through 25, Korea will seek to address challenges based on an integrated and coherent approach. Furthermore, recognizing the critical role of women in conflict resolution and peace building, we have been championing the Action with Women and Peace initiative. As you may know, the initiative was launched by former Foreign Minister Kang, who is present here with us today. We plan to have the 6th International Conference on Action with Women and Peace later in the year. Second, public-private partnership, or PPP, will be another cornerstone of our commitment to SDG implementation. Harnessing the dynamism and entrepreneurship of the private sector was a key ingredient in Korea's economic transformation. In tandem with the increase in public resources through ODA, Korea will use its capacity as a convener to encourage catalytic investment from the private sector. A prime example is the robust public-private partnership demonstrated during the earthquake in Turkey last year. At the time, Korea deployed its largest ever disaster relief team, rescuing 8 survivors. We subsequently sent 2 more teams comprising the Foreign Ministry, KOICA, and civil society. The teams successfully developed temporary housing projects in collaboration with the government of Turkey, demonstrating the effectiveness of public-private partnerships. KOICA is also actively promoting innovative development cooperation projects with domestic startups and small, medium, and large enterprises. These projects are expected to crowd in private investment through blended finance and could play a catalytic role in closing the financing gap while leveraging private expertise and technology. Third, digital and innovation domains will be front and center in our efforts. During his speech at the UN and the G20 summit last year, President Yoon emphasized that Korea will seek to build green ladders by supporting adaptation and mitigation efforts and contribute to advancing digital transformation in developing countries. To assist countries most vulnerable to climate change, the Korean government pledged an additional $300 million to the Green Climate Fund. Korea will also help narrow the digital divide in education, healthcare, and financial services for developing countries, a centerpiece of the Digital Bill of Rights, which the Korean government launched last year. On artificial intelligence, we will actively contribute to advancing global governance discussions on AI in a way that unleashes the benefits of this new technology while mitigating its risks. Key avenues for doing so include Korean representation on the UN Advisory Board on AI and our hosting of the AI Summit and AI Global Forum in May, along with the second Responsible Use of AI in the Military Domain Summit in September. Finally, empowering and equipping future generations to lead transformative change, innovation, and global prosperity. Our ODA will actively promote the development of youth education and capacity building programs, such as vocational and technical education and science and technology institutes. KTVET, Korea's flagship vocation centers, will spearhead these endeavors. We will also scale up our support for enhancing digital literacy among youth in developing countries and thereby help bridge the digital divide. The KOICA Youth Initiative will help train young leaders in seeking equitable and sustainable solutions to global challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, the path to achieving SDGs is not shrouded in mystery. The path to getting there has been deliberated, debated, and devised time and time again. The key is whether we as nations can rally the will to engage in the kind of international solidarity and public-private cooperation that revitalizes multilateralism. I sincerely hope that the Global Engagement and Empowerment Forum on Sustainable Development helps to catalyze the will to act, and to act now. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Minister Cho, for your speech. So as a Korean, I think it was great to hear about Korea's plans and commitments for accelerating the achievement of the United Nations SDGs. So there are many ways to tell if this was a great speech or not, but one thing that I noticed was that three of the distinguished speakers sitting on the front row were taking notes during this speech. This is evidence that I think this was something great to hear. Okay, so let me now introduce our next keynote speaker, His Excellency Dennis Francis, the President of the 78th United Nations General Assembly, who has sent us a video message. So let's take a look at his message.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a profound privilege to address the bright minds of Yonsei University once more, albeit regrettably not in person on this occasion. The halls of your university hold a special significance in my heart. Indeed, it was at Yonsei where last October I delivered my first keynote address to an academic institution soon after assuming my role as President of the United Nations General Assembly in September 2023. Your enthusiasm, questions, and commitment to multilateralism left a lasting imprint on me. I have made it a point to engage with students and young people in every country I have traveled to since recognizing the pivotal role that universities, education, and youth play in learning, analysis, and research. Subsequently, I have delivered lectures to corresponding audiences at Qatar University in Qatar, Makerere University in Uganda, Shanghai Institutes for International Studies in China, the University of Nairobi in Kenya, the University of Tokyo in Japan. We stand at a crucial crossroads in human history. Our global economy, amidst its rebound from the strains endured in recent years, is showing signs of resilience. However, the journey to full recovery is complicated by heightened challenges, notably escalating conflicts and geopolitical tensions, which demand delicate navigation underpinned by concerted efforts. Climate change, which is perhaps the most significant existential threat humanity has ever faced, looms large on the horizon. Poverty, food security, inequality, inflation, and debt levels all compound the plight of the world's most vulnerable, amplifying their hardships to an unbearable extent, both at the individual and country levels. It is sad, stark reality that the closer we are to 2030, the farther, of course, we fall in our pursuit of the Sustainable Development Goals. I, however, maintain there is still hope to overcome the myriad challenges confronting us. Ladies and gentlemen, achieving the ambitious goals we have set as the global community, including the United Nations, which I presently lead, requires strategic investment, both domestically and internationally, and both financially and politically. A crucial component of this endeavor is the imperative to overhaul the international financial architecture, guaranteeing easily accessible, predictable, and stable long-term financing for sustainable development, particularly in the Global South. The United Nations is the foremost forum for tackling inter- and intranational challenges, and indeed, the sole platform where warring parties may sit side by side, compelled to engage in diplomatic dialogue. Of all other principal organs, the General Assembly, as the most universally representative, deliberative body of the United Nations, and which I am honored to serve as its president, holds enormous promise in our unwavering commitment to achieve peace, prosperity, progress, and sustainability for all. I firmly believe that it is through this very practice of cooperation, through a UN-led multilateral system, that we can find durable solutions. To that end, the upcoming Summit of the Future presents a prime opportunity to generate impactful and transformative action towards achieving the SDGs, and to invest in you, the young people, as critical agents of change. In this endeavor, education, the mightiest of peace builders, plays a pivotal role. To realize our primary purpose and mission of fostering peace, we must also focus on quality education, and education not just measured in terms of throngs of unemployed graduates flooding the labor market, but well-targeted education systems aligned with labor market's demands, ensuring quality jobs in the context of decent work for graduates like yourselves. Across Africa and Asia, we have a reservoir of youthful populations, and we must harness this demographic dividend through meaningful investments in youth, coupled with advancements in technology to leapfrog sustainable development of our countries. Ladies and gentlemen, accelerating progress across all SDGs, bearing in mind their interconnectedness, because progress in one area triggers positive effects in others. For instance, education fosters peace, gender equality, sustainable development, and food security. Embracing a holistic approach to multilateralism and sustainable development is crucial for achieving peace, progress, prosperity, and sustainability for all. With this in mind, I will hold the General Assembly's first ever Sustainability Week this coming April, a series of events featuring key sectors of the economy, such as transport, tourism, infrastructure, energy, and debt sustainability. Taken together, the week's back-to-back events will provide a broad platform for member states and stakeholders to drive progress on the SDGs. The membership's decision to hold a high-level meeting on the threat posed by the sea level rise in September offers the opportunity to address the fate of low-lying coastal areas as well as small island developing states. Furthermore, the upcoming ECOSOC High-Level Political Forum will focus on accelerating the realization of the 2030 Agenda in times of polycrises, emphasizing the urgency of delivering sustainable and innovative solutions. Youth are central to these efforts. Thanks to the UN Youth Office and platforms like the ECOSOC Youth Forum, we can actively involve young people in all aspects of the UN's work. I look forward to dialoguing with your peers on the sidelines of the forum in April. In all our global endeavors, I strongly believe that there is added value in embracing public-private partnerships, and that there is enough room for governments to collaborate with other stakeholders. In this regard, during my presidency, I have committed to ensuring the active engagement of all stakeholders: civil society, the private sector, academia, and you, the youth. As I close, I invite you to embrace these troubled times as an opportunity for collective action and solidarity. Together, we hold the power to forge a future that thrives on sustainability, equality, and peace. A world that not only enriches the lives of your generation, but also lays a strong foundation for those who will follow you and who will inherit the mantle. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency Dennis Francis, President of the 78th United Nations General Assembly, for your encouraging remarks. You especially highlighted the crucial role of financing for the SDGs, especially in countries of the Global South that are affected the most by global challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, we do have one more keynote prepared. Our next keynote speaker will be His Excellency Juan Manuel Santos, the 32nd President of Colombia and the recipient of the 2016 Nobel Peace Prize. He has sent his messages as well via video. Let's take a look.
Dear friends, it is an honor to take part in the Global Engagement and Empowerment Forum on Sustainable Development at Yonsei University. I am sorry I am not able to join you in person in Seoul as I had hoped. The title of this event is Reboot the SDGs, Reset Our Future, a timely topic at a critical moment in our collective journey towards sustainable development. The adoption of the Sustainable Development Goals is the most important achievement of the United Nations in this century, and a great example of what can be achieved when there is political will to cooperate. Few people know that Colombia, my country, played a leading role in the initiative to create the SDGs. we formally proposed this idea, which had been cooking for some time, at the Rio +20 summit in 2012. And in September 2015, it became none other than the world agenda for the next 15 years. The United Nations Secretary General at that time was my good friend, the fellow elder Ban Ki-moon, your compatriot, who I want to thank for having kindly invited me to this forum. I commend this gathering's initiative to review past approaches to the SDGs, to acknowledge past mistakes, and to chart a more effective path forward based on lessons learned. It is also important to emphasize the significance of small, actionable changes that can be integrated into individuals' daily lives, so we can all collectively contribute to achieve the SDGs. Our world is in grave danger. We face a set of existential threats that puts all humanity at risk. But unfortunately, our leaders are not responding with the wisdom and urgency required. The impact of these threats is already being felt. A rapidly changing climate, a pandemic that killed millions and cost trillions, wars in which the use of nuclear weapons has been openly raised. A necessary, a vital condition to make all this possible is to reverse the trend against multilateralism. The world needs to make a new pledge for stronger global cooperation. We should never forget that global threats can only be addressed through global action, through cooperation among humans and among nations. Unfortunately, too many countries still cling to the illusion that they can survive in isolation, that their borders can somehow magically protect them while the rest of the planet burns. When talking about the survival of the planet, borders don't matter, ideologies don't matter, nationalities don't matter. The threat of war and the threat of violence in the world can certainly be minimized by accepting to submit to a new global rules-based system. A new system where preserving the planet, seeking more social justice, reducing conflict, and achieving a truly sustainable peace should be the priorities. The good news is that all of this can easily be achieved if we work around the SDGs. Everything is there: the social, the economic, the environmental, and the institutional aspects. And the work must be done by all: governments, civil societies, the private sector, indigenous communities, traditionally marginalized minorities. Recently, the UN Secretary General addressed the Security Council on the now very evident links between conflict, climate, and food insecurity. He specifically said that to preserve peace, and I quote, turbocharging progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals, including our goal of zero hunger, is the answer, end of quote. And one thing is clear: there cannot be peace without sustainable development, and there cannot be sustainable development without peace. In the past century, humankind fought world wars, led by nations that claimed the supremacy of their race, their religion, or their ideology, and despised the race, the religion, and the ideology of others. Sadly, the ghost of religious and political fanatism, of nationalism, of racism are unfortunately very much alive in today's scenario, always instilling fear to gain followers. Fear of the other, fear of the one who is different, fear of the unknown, fear of what they do not understand. How many times have we not surrendered to fear and have lost the opportunity to meet face to face with an adversary, to forgive or to reconcile? How many times have we listened to the words of those leaders who divide instead of uniting, who exclude others instead of bringing people together, who promote hate instead of fostering hope? Leaders who scream, "Our country first, our needs first, our nation first," are in the bottom saying, "Our fears first." And they send young people to die in useless wars on behalf of a cause that many times no one can define. Just look at what is happening in Gaza, in Ukraine, and sadly, in many other places around the world. After many, many years of war in my country, in Colombia, more than half a century, we are slowly but surely on the path towards peace. We signed an agreement to put an end to a 50-year armed conflict, and now we are working to achieve sustainable, long-lasting, and inclusive peace. Peacemaking is one thing, to silence the guns, which we have already achieved, but another, much more difficult, that demands patience and perseverance, is peace building. It means healing the wounds, learning to choose hope over fear, to choose love over hate. And that is something that needs to start in our own hearts and in our own souls, in our families, in our communities, in our schools, and in our cities. We must put ourselves in the shoes of others and understand that we all have feelings, we all have aspirations, we all have mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, we all have dreams, no matter how different we are, no matter what color of skin we have, no matter to what God we pray. We can always find common ground. We can always compromise. If you come to realize this, you will find that the impossible can be possible. Every conflict, no matter how difficult it is, can be resolved through constructive dialogue and commitment. Dear friends, today more than ever, we need to reaffirm our common humanity in the face of great existential threats like armed conflicts, climate change, the destruction of our biodiversity, and food insecurity, among others. The knowledge and the resources to address these challenges exist, but too many of our leaders lack the political will or capability to take decisive action. They seek short-term fixes over long-term solutions. Despite the seriousness of the existential threats that we face, hope remains. We should never, never give up hope. Our best future can still lie ahead of us. We need leaders to take the long view and show the courage to lead us to that better future. We need to work together to fulfill the central transformative promise of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and its Sustainable Development Goals. Leave no one behind. This can be a reality for future generations, and we owe it to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, His Excellency Juan Manuel Santos, everyone. We have heard now twice already the sentence, there can be no peace without sustainable development, and there can be no sustainable development without peace. Which gives me the perfect segue to our next point in our program, which is all about global peace building. In this special session on global peace and the SDGs, we're inviting now global leaders and peace builders on stage to share with us their personal experiences in negotiating major peace treaties. They will share lessons learned and insights on how to reboot the SDGs. They will also analyze the current state of global affairs and explore how we can guarantee the right to safety and dignity to everyone.